Thank you guys for joining in, those of you who are here. We are going to talk today about opening up the church house and launching House Church. And so I'm saying that as many times as I can, so that way I can stop calling them home groups. But also, just to reiterate a point that we're making there, that Southside hasn't stopped in the midst of COVID, and so to just say reopening the church, I think is a bit of a misnomer because in a lot of ways, I know the four of us on this call, all of the staff have been incredibly busy adapting and reacting to the ever-present change that's going on in life right now. And that's something one of our small group leaders said on a training Wednesday morning, was that for some people, pause really is a pause. For other people, pause is kind of a misnomer, that they are busier than they've ever been. And so I think that's an important point for all of those who are watching us, just to remember, we feel your pain on both sides. There are people who definitely have, their lives have absolutely stopped in the midst of this, and there are others where their lives have only gotten busy. And just to call out to Gary's sermon on Sunday, I think that both scenarios help lead to depression. So if you guys, again, if you want any training on Gary's sermon from Sunday morning, go back on YouTube. You can see our video from there, and also on Facebook, you can see our Zoom conversation, our Facebook Live from Sunday night. It was just a great time with JD Moorhead, and and it's always great to have a practicing professional psychoanalyze Gary and myself. But today, House Church and church reopening, and Gary, we'll pass it to you. What is your vision for all of this, and how do you want it to go?
Well, thanks, Darren, and thank everybody for joining in and watching, and for everything that you continue to do to continue to keep the church open so that it has never closed. That statement's only true because of you guys and all that you're doing, and the many ways that you are serving each other and our community. And I think for me, part of it is just recognizing that as a church, we have to adapt to new realities. And not only do we have to adapt one time, but we have to be prepared to adapt multiple times. And as an organization, as a church, continue to try to be as versatile as we can, recognizing that everything that we know today could be different next week, the next month, 3 months from now. And so that's definitely added a level of stress to the equation when it comes to planning. But in some ways, it's also been, I think, it's forced us to rely more on the Lord and to press into Him, because nobody really knows what's going to happen. So I think we have done our best to be responsible, to make plans and then to hold those plans very loosely. And but it's interesting how some of the things that are going on right now are actually accelerating some visions that we had for Southside already. So for example, we have been working to build an online virtual campus for a long time. I mean, we started back 4 or 5 years ago just by making it so that we could do live streaming in the sanctuary. And we've been live streaming for several years now, not to the level we're doing it these last few weeks, but that was a vision we had. We knew that as the world changed and people became more connected digitally, that we wanted to make sure we carved out space in digital media to be able to share the gospel and connect with people. So that's been accelerated exponentially over these last 8 weeks. Another thing that we've wanted to do that's been part of a long-range vision all along is related to that, is just try to embrace this idea of house churches. How do we put the church in every neighborhood? How do we have a presence, a physical presence, on streets all over our city, in order to reach neighbors that might not come to the campus? And so now what we found is, with the inability to gather in large groups, but maybe being able to gather in smaller groups of 10 or so, being able to open up homes in neighborhoods, and people invite close friends and neighbors over to worship together using online resources, just is moving that vision that we've had for a while forward, maybe by years. So online in house churches. And then the one that's maybe the most difficult is honestly the one that we've been doing for 80 plus years, and that's ministry on our campus. It's interesting, if you had said 3 or 4 months ago that we'd be in a position now where we know how to do worship online, and we would even be ready to move into doing house churches, but we would be the most apprehensive about having ministry on campus. I couldn't have conceived of a situation that would have been true, where that would have been true. But that's what's actually happening right now, is that's the one where there is maybe the least, I don't want to say, I just say it this way. I think that's the one we have the least competence in, just because we want to be super thoughtful and careful to the needs of our community, the needs of our parishioners, the needs of staff, the needs of volunteers. But obviously, the need for the church to gather together physically is important. I mean, we can only do so much virtually, digitally, and we're doing that, and we're maybe even doing more than you might expect that way. But to be able to gather people together back on the campus is going to be an important part of our strategy going forward. So we are, in accordance with all the things that we're reading from state and local and federal agencies, we are making plans right now to reopen the campus for worship on campus on beginning Wednesday, May 27th. And the way that'll look is there'll be 2 services. They'll both be the same, Wednesday night at 6:30 and Sunday morning at 10:30. And we're actually encouraging everybody who is a normal Southside attender to really consider coming to Wednesday night, to keep the space on Sunday morning open for guests. And people who would normally say, well, I'm going to go to church, I'm going to go on a Sunday. Let's keep that space available for them, and try to get as many of our regulars, if you will, in the building on Wednesday nights. We're going to record the service we're going to record it on Wednesday nights, and then we're going to premiere that online on Sunday morning. So the experience, whether you come on Wednesday night, whether you're watching online on Sunday mornings or through the week, or whether you're attending at 10:30, that experience will be the same. Same sermon, same song set, everything will be the same. And then if you go to a house church, that house church may either watch the service together online, or they may say, hey, watch it on your own and then come and do the discussion group. So that's a little bit about where we're going. And again, all these plans are subject to change. If we hear in the next couple of weeks that that the curve is bending steep up, we may postpone. We're not, we're not being inflexible with all these dates, but that's just a little snapshot of what we're thinking about and where we are right now. And I just want to reiterate to everybody, we are responding to the situation, but I also can see how God is using this situation to make our church more effective and move us in a direction that I think is going to be more about the church of the future anyway, when it comes to house churches and digital and online resources.
So where we are with the house church too, that I think is important is that we want to provide multiple options. And so we're looking at a situation to where we want our people to be creative. So as we're starting these house churches, as we're moving towards house churches, we really want those house church environments to be creative, for there to be, a deacon there to help minister to the needs of the individuals in that house church. But for the leader who's over that house church, whether it be a deacon or another member of our church, to really see what works best for the people who are attending there, because everyone's going to be different. So we're going to provide links on our website, resources on our website for people to use. We're going to start some test house churches just to figure out what are best practices, even as we're going into this new setting. And one of the things that I wanted to turn attention to now is Todd. And so Todd Canarins is our associate pastor of Next Gen, and I would love for Todd just to give us a vision for the resources we're going to provide for those who have questions of just, what do I do with the Next Gen in these house churches? How do we manage that? And also, Todd, if you'll touch on our strategy for Next Gen on campus, and what are we going to do on campus?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I've heard from parents is, in the midst of this and with all the homeschooling, they just want to spend more time with their kids. they don't want any next gen ministry. They just, no, I'm just kidding. I know. Hey, listen, if there are any husbands out here and your wife is staying home homeschooling with them children, you better open that wallet up for Mother's Day. That's all I'm gonna say. That's my friendly tip for you, just to help you out this year. But no, so what we are doing is on campus on Wednesday night and Sunday, we're actually going to offer the same thing for preschool and children. So we're going to offer grow groups. And the reason we're offering grow groups is we kind of said, what aren't kids getting? And we felt the interpersonal discipleship teaching is what they're not getting. So we will continue to put kid worship online, and you can watch that as a family or however you've been doing that. But on church or at church on Wednesday and Sunday at 6:30 and 10:30, we'll be offering grow groups for preschool and elementary. Now for student ministry, we'll be offering small groups on Wednesday night. We haven't decided to open up Sunday yet. We think it's Sunday. If they come, they can sit with you and be a part of worship. But for Wednesday nights, we will have student small groups for middle school and high school as well. So again, and we're going to do the same thing with students. We're going to continue to do Reboot Online, kind of our podcast, our worship, because that's something that you can watch. But we think what's missing right now, what we're hearing is those interpersonal relationships, that discipleship process just can't happen online in its fullness. So that's what we're going to open up on campus. And I will say, just a little note, I think for children and students, we're doing really well as far as volunteers, but for preschool, a lot of our volunteers are in that range that is considered high risk. So some of them can't come back and they're heartbroken. I mean, literally, I'm getting emails saying, we want to be there. We just dangerous. And we certainly understand that. But if there's somebody else who's saying, hey, I can step into their place, we definitely need people to step up and serve in those capacities on Wednesday and Sunday. And as far as for home church, I was just working on that yesterday. We're going to have, as I said, we're going to post the kid worship online. So you'll have access to that and the kids can watch that. And then we have some like a front and back piece of paper with best practices that you can do as a leader to help your children really grow. And it's something that we're just going to have one that you can use every week. And then each week we'll update what our lesson is, so you can kind of read over that lesson and know it a little bit in advance to help the kids better understand it. But we've got all the resources. And again, I mean, I'm a resource. If you've got questions, if you're like, man, I just don't know what to do. And I actually even put that in the paper. It's better to tell a child, let me check on that, than to give them the wrong answer. So if you get stuck or there's a question, you're like, man, I just don't know that, text me, call me, email me, I'll get you, we'll work on that together. And then you can go back the next week and pour into them a little bit more. So we're going to give everything we can to make sure that we're reaching and connecting and growing these kids.
So one thing I do want to add to that too is just looking at the people who've joined us on Facebook, and thank you all for joining us. I see we got about 30 people pretty consistently on Facebook right now. And so just thank you guys for being there and for joining us live. And one thing I do want to mention to you guys is I know we've had people from other parts of the country join in with us in the midst of COVID. And so maybe you're joining in with us in parts of Alabama. I've seen some people in Ohio, some people, across the country. We don't want you to feel like now that if you've started to get connected to us, that you have to all of a sudden, when things start opening up, no longer be connected to us. One of our goals is to really, and Gary mentioned this at the beginning, one of our goals was to really start a virtual campus. And so if you want to use our resources and let us know that you exist out there. So if you're out in the middle of Nebraska, we want to know that you're there, but we want to help supply you with information. And so let us know you're there. Let us know how we can help you, and let us know what we can do. My view personally of small groups is that the leaders really are kind of pastors, for lack of a better word, of those individuals. They are shepherding those flocks. Those deacons are shepherding the needs of the individuals inside of those groups. And so if you're looking to just start a house church somewhere and use our videos, use our sermon, over the next few weeks, you'll continue to hear about Right Now Media. Maybe you're using a small group curriculum on Right Now Media. We would love to help continue to resource you as you take the word of God out to the people around you. And so just let us know that you're there, and we will help you however we can on a virtual campus. No matter where you are, we want to make sure if you're getting connected to us, that you stay connected to us. So, Scott, just a few questions for you. As you're starting, a house church here soon with your wife, Kathy, and I know she's really going to help lead out in that group, in that environment. A couple of questions for you. Kind of what has been your experience with house churches? And secondly, along with that, how can we as just church members help support the larger organization of Southside as we move in this direction?
Well, I can't really say that I've never thought of house church in the way that we are now looking at it. We're looking at it in doing house church in multiple ways. Basically, however, the person who holds the church might choose to do it, multiple different solutions. I think that what I know we're looking to do, at least to start off with, is probably have our group end up looking at the service online, and then instead of doing what we have been doing, having a small group or our grow group online through Zoom, we'll actually have a smaller group in our home to go over the service. That will allow us to have community interaction. I think that it will enhance the prayer time. Not that prayer time has not been good on Zoom, but there's something about being in the same room with those that share prayer requests and you're praying for, and it just is more mindful. And so many people, as they're doing Zoom, they're doing it on their phone, so they can't see everybody at once and such like that. So there will be much stronger community just in the format of being in a small group. We have talked to several people that have done something similar to this and have found that with that one-on-one attention within the group, they've felt that that has been some of the strongest growth that they have had as an individual, even many of them being brand new Christians. So we look for there to be that community, that closeness, that opportunity. I do believe that it will give us the chance that on different times when we have our group, we'll probably follow it up with a meal. We probably won't do that every single time, but we will do that sometimes, just depending upon the time that we have allotted, for ourselves. One of the thoughts is what can be done for the organization or Southside as a whole. Darren had mentioned that Eve and Gary has mentioned how we have done so well in being prepared to do some things online. But I want you to know that the excellence that we have gotten to in doing our online services has come at a price. And so obviously we're able to cut areas and some things because we're not doing certain things, but we've had to spend a lot more in other areas. So I guess what I'm just trying to say, in order to continue to get that Southside has been very faithful, we're just asking for you to be continue to be faithful. And whether you text to give, or you end up going online, or you end up mailing in your checks for Southside's budget, it is being used appropriately. We even see certain gifts that are coming in for some benevolent situations that we have helped in the past and that we will continue to work in different lives in the future. So all those things have been such a blessing. I felt like that may be one area that we might want to address, is that for those that are coming to church, what you might be able to expect when we do open it on that Wednesday night, or we open it for that Sunday at 10:30. We are going to be doing our best to make sure that things are sanitized and ready for you when you arrive. If you desire to wear a mask or you desire to wear gloves, that will be 100% okay. If you happen to get there and think, well, I think I would like them, we will try to have those available for you. We will have things set up in the McGuire Fellowship Center that will be socially distanced to where we will have the opportunity to meet and yet still have distancing. There will be some expectations that we want to set up prior to you attending, to know that we will not have hymn books. We will not have handouts. We will not be doing those kinds of things that anything could be passed or dropped on the floor and picked up and something could be attracted. But we will be also cleaning following these meetings and such, and we have specialized disinfectants that we're going to be using and such. So I guess what I'm just trying to tell you, that there are plans in place for you to be able to enter and for you to be able to leave, for you to be able to have your kids in small groups, and all to be safe when you're able to come. But we are stressing, if you are at risk, that those are not the individuals that we would like to be on the early stages of these opportunities to meet.
Yeah, let me just reiterate that, because I think it's really important. I know a lot of our senior adults are maybe the most anxious to get back, and in many cases, they're the most isolated. And you know, we're doing all we can through our ministries just to continue to be in touch with and minister to those folks. But let me just remind you what the governor said. I think he is at this point saying anybody 65 and over and anybody with any pre-existing conditions is encouraged to remain safe at home until phase 3, until the governor declares that Florida is at a phase 3. We're not there yet. And so even though we're beginning to reopen, I would just strongly encourage those of you who are in those two categories to follow the directions by the CDC, by the governor, by the local officials, because we, as much as we love and miss, and believe me, we miss everybody. It is that the building is just a big empty building, and it is I sure do miss seeing folks. I mean, my heart as a pastor is to be with people and to love on people. So nobody wants you back any faster than I do, but I also want you to be safe. So I would encourage you, please take that into consideration. If you've got pre-existing health conditions, if you are, if you're in the age category that they're saying remain safe at home, please do that. And obviously, if you're not feeling well, we call in our house, we say, I'm just feeling a little one-sided. If you're feeling a little one-sided, just stay home that day. You know, that's okay. We want to make sure everybody's safe.
Yeah, and along with that, there's, again, you can contact us in any ways. Our number, our text number, 904, man, we were on a thread just a second ago and we messed up this number. So 904-441-8650. And if you're part of that population, our senior adult groups, and you want connection, let us know. We have senior adults right now conference calling in on small groups, and they're having conference called small groups. And we want to be able to connect you to a community in the midst of this. One of my favorite Zoom calls we had was with some of our church planters, and Jason McGibbons up in Toronto said that they aren't calling it social distancing, they're calling it physical distancing, because the church can continue to be social and can continue to be a community in the midst of this. And we just want to reiterate that. Yes, we're going to open the church house. Yes, we're going to start these house churches, but I guarantee you we will still continue to have a good segment of people that are continuing to meet by conference calls. And I already know of a couple of different groups across age ranges that are going to continue to meet on conference calls. And so I just want to let you know that there's options available to you. And this isn't a binary choice. These are just two new offerings that we're going in the midst of COVID, where we've already, in addition to the one we've already had. And so just want to remind you guys of that. Well, as Scott Badgett was mentioning, cuts, we do have one question about cuts, and that was for Todd Canarins. Eddie Lockme wanted to know, when did you get a haircut?
Hey, Eddie, when you serve the Lord, he provides. And so he provided with me. Actually, he didn't provide me. I was trimming my beard and I said, I wonder if this will work on my hair. And I just kept on going. And guess what? It worked. Don't tell my wife, but it worked. Hey, I do want to make a comment real quick on something Scott said. well, one for Next Gen and one for the church. He said we'll be in the MFC. And the reason for that is because we can socially distance better in the MFC and get people in and out that we can't in the worship center. With the pews, you will have to crawl over people or we'll have to limit. So that's, if you're wondering, well, why that? Because that's going to be, and it's going to be better for what we put on the air. Also for Next Gen, following the guidelines that are out there that preschools are already doing, we won't allow any group to be bigger than 10. That's kind of been the norm that's been set in the preschools and daycares that are still open. It's nothing over 10. Of course, with some ages, we can't do that for ratios anyway. But when we think about it, I don't think we're going to put everybody in one big room. We will make sure we have 10, no more than 10. And we also will not be giving snacks at the first stage. It's just too dangerous, and we don't want to risk that. So
no goldfish?
No goldfish for that first stage. So feed your children ahead of time. Firehouse right down the road, whatever. But no, we can't risk it. And they'll
no
only be there for an hour. What's that?
What?
And no coffee for the adults either.
Goldfish?
Yeah, and plus I've already eaten most of the preschool snacks during quarantine, so there's not much left in there.
This is true. So what Todd was doing during quarantine, at least the first week, is all close dated snacks. Mm-hmm. Todd was like shoving his hand into the, there was like a thing of cheese puffs, and he was just pulling it out one after another and going at it. Another question that really came through was from Brian, and it was, is there a limit for how many people can be in one service? And I know Eddie just kind of asked the same question. The group cell will not number more than 50 in each worship hour. So how are we handling that 50-person max that we keep hearing about? What are we doing with that?
Well, there's been a lot of conflicting information about this. And so according to the governor's office, there is actually no real restriction on churches. Now, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have a limit. I think regardless of what the limitations or the guidelines are, I think we need to practice wisdom and discernment and what is best. And so in the MFC, if you can, those of you who are familiar with our campus know that room well. It's where we have the 9 o'clock service and dinner on Wednesday nights. And that room, it takes the entire room. If you're going to space people at 6 feet apart, it takes really almost the whole room to get 50 people in there. So we think that the room is going to be limited really to 50 anyway, just because we don't think we get more in. Now, how do we manage that? That's something that we don't really know. We're hearing mixed reports about when churches have reopened, the number of people that have come back hasn't really been as high as people may have expected. I mean, it's been, I think, Todd, you were saying about some churches that you knew in Georgia that run between 500 and 1,000, and the most they had was about 50. Any one of them had was about 50. So I think that we'll see the first couple weeks. Again, we're trying to encourage most of you, hey, come on Wednesday night, because we don't think that will be the most popular night. We think Sunday mornings will naturally draw a bigger crowd. So come on Wednesday night at 6:30 and then Sunday morning at 10:30. And we're going to see what happens. I mean, I've heard of some churches doing Eventbrite ticketing, where you basically sign up and you know who's coming. I mean, we could look at all those things, but right now we are just going to watch and see, and then sorry about that. We're going to watch and see how it goes, and then respond accordingly. But that's our plan. So 50 people really is about the physical limit we can get in the room anyway.
And what we said is, if we were going to do Ticketbrite, since we're Baptists, we're going to sell the back row for $500 and work up to $5 to the front row, just so y'all know.
Man, Todd beat me. I was going to make a back row Baptist joke. But along with that, the idea with this is, as you come on that first Wednesday night, that'll be May 27th, or on Sunday the 31st, as you come into the building and as you enter into the worship center, make sure to go all the way to the front and fill up from the front to the back. It's a better, it helps us out just so you're not walking through with people, but also it'll help that dismissal so you can exit from back to front. So if you really want the back row, I would just say come late, but don't come too late, because if for some reason we had 100 people show up,
You can't,
we're only going to have seats for 50 in that room. So,
Darren.
so just know that.
You can't say that, because now that's, what is now the 6:30 service becomes the 7:15 service.
We say, all of a sudden everybody will just show up right at the end, and they
Hey,
made it.
I want to say, I noticed that Miss Betty Lee jumped on here on our chat, and I think it's our birthday, isn't it? It's today Betty Lee's birthday. So happy birthday, Miss Betty. We miss you. We love you.
Yeah, we do want to thank you. We've gone through all the main questions, so we'll give it a few more seconds for us to kind of think of questions on our feet. But we've had about 30 people in total through this whole thing. So we just thank you guys for staying involved on this live feed, and for all of you who are going to see this after the live feed. I know many more have joined in and gone out of this conversation. We're here for you. We want to. Our main mission is to really, help you guys, to equip the saints for the work of the ministry. And so let us know how we can best equip you. We want to make disciples and equip those who do. So let us know how we can do that.
Yeah. So I want to just, I put this slide up just for those who might have joined late, just to do a little bit of a review about what we're talking about here. And this graphic kind of captures it for us with 3 options as we move forward over the next few weeks. Obviously online, which is what we've been doing. The services will continue to premiere on Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. at ssbc.org. Also be on Facebook. We'll be on YouTube as well. And then on campus, we'll start on May 27th, Wednesday nights and Sundays, 6:30 on Wednesday nights, 10:30 on Sundays. Same service that will premiere at 9 a.m. on Sunday. There'll be next gen programming for birth through 5th grade, both days, and students on Wednesday nights. And then the house church option, which will be various times, various locations throughout the week, and just small groups of people gathering together in homes and basically experiencing community, worshiping together, doing small group discussion. So that's just a little snapshot there. If you want to get in one screen what it looks like, hopefully that'll be helpful as well. I also wanted to just mention, if we can for just a second, just to remind everybody, sorry about that.
Benny just wants to talk.
Yeah. So just to remind everybody that when you come, it's really important that we all realize, we're not going to do the meet and greet time. We're going to collect the offering in the back as you leave. We're going to encourage you to give online. We're going to encourage you to still text Connect on your phone rather than filling out a communication card. We're going to ask that you come in and worship, and then that you leave. You get your kids. We're really not going to encourage any congregating in the building. And believe me, it's not because we don't want those things. We would love to do those things. But again, just to try to be safe and try to be wise about how we're doing it, we just want to manage everybody's expectations. So please know when you come, if everybody comes in with that mindset and that expectation, I think it'll help us all to know what we're experiencing. And also to know that if it's crowded, if we do reach that 50 number, more of you that would worship online or maybe worship through a house church just opens up space for those who can come onto campus. We want to be mindful about that as well.
I'm muted. Just a reminder for you guys on that slide. I know it did say 10:30 p.m. We are not doing midnight mass. I have a version of that says AM, and I forgot to give that to Gary, so I need to get that one to Gary. But we will do 10:30 a.m. will be our Sunday morning worship experience. Any final thoughts? We've been going for about 35 minutes now. So any final thoughts, or just thoughts on you guys' part for what we're hoping to do?
I just want to say that I'm very excited about the way Southside is trying to meet the needs that everyone has at this time. We understand that some, because of the COVID-19, will not be able to be in community face to face. But we also understand that in small groups that can occur. And we also understand for some it is best to be online. And I just appreciate Southside Baptist being able to choose to be able to offer those different opportunities and to be forward thinking enough that they are looking to different phases to trying to do what is best for those that attend. And also appreciate the next gen reaching out to all ages. I know that, again, I've seen so many different things that Southside has done to even try to work with those that are technologically challenged with DVD player and sending out CDs and stuff like that. So I am just appreciative of those areas, and just want you to know that if you are having a difficult time connecting through one of the opportunities we have, contact us here at the church, and we would be glad to try to see how we could work with you.
And also, let me expand on that, because Scott's right. Some of you are connected with senior adults who are isolated. They might not be members of our church, but maybe their church isn't able to do some of the things that we've been able to do. We want to minister to anybody, and there are senior adults maybe around you who are completely unchurched, and so please let us know if we need to make some more CDs or some more DVDs because maybe digitally they can't connect, or you want to share the phone number where they can dial the phone number and at least listen to the sermon through their phone. That, I think we put that in the feed below. You can find that number to call, to dial a sermon. You should call it if you've never called it. It's kind of it's surreal to call it and listen to it. It's kind of bizarre, but I know for many that's been a helpful way for them. They don't have the technology to log on to Facebook or YouTube or the internet connection. So CDs, DVDs, we're making those every week. We're delivering those every week. The phone call, and again, there are senior adults around you who may not have those resources from another church, and we would be more than happy to minister to them. Just let us know. You can email info@ssbc.org, or you can contact Cindy at the church. We'll be happy to add them to our list.
So we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Just want to kind of focus you guys towards the future. I'm really looking forward. This Sunday is Mother's Day. And so looking forward to seeing you guys on Mother's Day, and hope you have a good time with your mom. Now there's no excuse for you to not see your mother because you'll be at church. You know, you get to go and be with her all day long. So go and enjoy Mother's Day.
Wait, Darren, we're not meeting on Mother's Day.
Oh, we're not. I'm saying people can go see their own moms now.
I just want to make sure everybody was clear. We're not meeting on campus till the 27th.
Yes. So we're not meeting on campus. So you need to go.
Darren, words matter.
You need to go visit your mom on Mother's Day. If you're available.
Go visit her at her house.
At her house, not at the church. And then the next Sunday we'll be celebrating our graduates. Please join in and celebrate on the 17th with our graduates. This has been an absolutely horrible senior year for you to be a senior. So no grad bash, no fun at all for seniors. So we're really trying to celebrate our seniors bigly on the 17th. And so join in on May 17th to celebrate with our seniors and their graduation. And then finally, just as we keep going, the 27th is coming. And so that'll be the start on campus on that Wednesday night. And then we will launch our house churches, and we will open the church house on a Sunday for the first time on May 31st. So thank you guys. Looking forward to seeing you guys in person again. And let us know any way that we can help. And yes, Cindy Graves, I said bigly by your favorite person on this planet. And if you don't know Cindy, it is definitely not her favorite person on this planet. So I will see you guys later. Thank you again for joining in. Bye.